I died choking on my own blood in the rain-slicked alley behind that godforsaken gallery in Soho. My ex-fiancé's boot cracking my ribs like cheap plywood while he whispered how I'd always been nothing but a drain on his brilliant life. The last thing I saw was my own reflection in a puddle, eyes wide. Paint-splattered hands clawing at nothing before the world went black. And I thought, this is it. Ava. You pathetic dreamer. 32 and finished. But then I woke up gasping in my old Brooklyn studio apartment. 25 again. The calendar on the wall screaming 2018. And the betrayal that killed me hadn't happened yet. Only I remembered every knife twist. It was the kind of jolt that hits you like a freight train at 3 a.m., heart slamming against your chest like it's trying to escape. I bolted upright in that lumpy futon bed, the one with a coffee stain from that all-nighter before my first big show. And for a split second, I thought it was just another nightmare. The air smelled like stale takeout and turpentine, my canvases leaning against the peeling walls like drunken soldiers. But the date, October 15th, 2018, burned into my brain from the eviction notice I'd crumpled on the floor.
3 years before the alley.
3 years before Marcus Hale, the golden boy curator who'd promised me the moon, drove the first stake through my heart by stealing my life's work and selling it as his own. I stumbled to the mirror, half expecting the bruises from his final lesson to stare back, but there I was, younger, fiercer, with the fire still unquenched in my hazel eyes. My hands, God, my hands trembled as I touched my face, unscarred, unpainted with the desperation that would come later. Reborn. The word echoed in my skull, ridiculous and real all at once. I'd read enough trashy novels in those late-night binges to know the trope, but this was my shot. No more playing the wide-eyed artist in a city that chews up dreamers and spits out husks. Marcus. My so-called family who'd laughed behind my back. Hell, my own blood. The ones who'd called me the family joke, they were all going down. And I'd build my empire on their bones. First things first, survival. In my first life, I'd scraped by on ramen and rejection letters, pouring every dime into supplies while Marcus mentored me, siphoning ideas like a vampire at a blood bank. This time, I knew the game. I grabbed my sketchbook, the one with the half-finished portrait of Dad that I'd never shown anyone, too raw. Too revealing of the man who'd walked out when I was 10, leaving Mom to raise me in that cramped Queens walk-up. But Dad? Richard Rick Harlan, the silver-tongued salesman who'd clawed his way to VP at some tech firm in Silicon Valley, only to remarry into money and forget his artistic disappointment of a daughter. The family reunion was coming up, his big 50th bash in 3 months, where they'd all pat themselves on the back for making it, while side-eyeing me as the broke artist leech. Not this time. I needed cash. Fast and clean. No begging for gallery scraps. I'd always had a knack for spotting trends, street art exploding into NFTs before anyone else cared, urban decay portraits that screamed social media gold. But in 2018, crypto was bubbling. And I knew from the future how it'd rocket. Marcus had dismissed my silly doodles of digital collages, but those would be my ticket. I fired up my ancient laptop, thank God it still booted, and dove into freelance gigs on Upwork, churning out custom murals for hipster cafes in Williamsburg. By week 2, I had 3 commissions lined up, each paying 5 figures. But that was just seed money. Nights blurred into feverish coding sessions. I'd minored in comp sci back at Pratt, enough to hack together basic smart contracts. I minted my first NFT collection, Fractured Lineage, abstract riffs on family trees twisted into thorns on a shoestring Ethereum wallet. Drop them on OpenSea for peanuts. Watch the flips happen overnight as collectors sniffed out the edge. Money trickled, then poured. $5,000, $20,000, $50,000. I moved out of the studio into a loft in Bushwick. Walls still scarred, but mine. No more shared bathrooms or roach symphonies. I hired a sketchy accountant from Craigslist, vetted him hard this time. No more trusting charm like with Marcus, and funneled everything into index funds. Tesla stock, I knew the surges. And a quiet real estate flip in Detroit, where Rust Belt revivals were about to boom. By Christmas, my net worth hit 7 figures. All digital ghosts no one could touch. But revenge isn't just bank statements, it's personal. Marcus. We'd met at that Pratt mixer in '09. Him all Ivy League polish and me raw talent from the outer boroughs. He'd wooed me with whispers of joint exhibits, then methodically dismantled me, accidentally spilling wine on my portfolio, pitching my concepts to his Chelsea contacts as inspired collaborations. By 2020, he'd launched Echoes of the Forgotten, my entire thesis series rebranded under his name, raking in Guggenheim nods while I crashed on couches, blackballed. The betrayal culminated in that alley after I confronted him at the opening, him screaming I was unstable, his fist proving it. Cops bought his story. Self-defense against a jealous ex. Buried secret? He'd forged emails making it look like I'd plagiarized him. My death was ruled an OD. Case closed. This loop. I'd document everything. Voice memos. Encrypted drives. Timestamps. I'd seduce him back in, let him think he had the upper hand, then gut him from the inside. The family angle burned hotter. Dad's reunion loomed like a guillotine. In the first timeline, I'd shown up broke, borrowing a dress from a thrift shop, sketches under my arm as my big break. Aunt Lydia, Dad's trophy wife number 2, had sneered over her Chardonnay. Ava's still playing Picasso, while the rest of us have real jobs. Cousins Ethan and Brooke, the golden duo with their Stanford degrees and venture capital gigs, chuckled along, calling me the family charity case. Mom had died 2 years prior from cancer we couldn't afford to fight properly. Dad sent a check too late, with a note. Wish I could do more.
Kiddo.
Hypocrite. They'd all known about my struggles. Whispered about getting her sectioned when I hit rock bottom. No one lifted a finger.
Now?
I'd walk in loaded, but not flaunting yet. Let them mock. Then drop the bomb. January hit. And with it, the first test. Marcus texted, right on schedule, from that burner number I'd memorized. Hey. Beautiful. Saw your Insta, those new pieces? Fire. Coffee. My stomach twisted, bile rising at the memory of his cologne masking the lies. But I typed back. Cool as ice. Missed you too. Friday. We met at that same dive in the East Village. The one with the sticky floors and overpriced lattes. He looked the same, tousled brown hair. That dimpled smile that hooked investors like fish. Ava Harlan, he drawled, leaning in too close. You've been busy. Heard about those NFT sales, cute side hustle. I laughed. Light and airy. The way he liked. Just keeping the lights on. What's new in the curation world?
Inside.
I cataloged, the Rolex peeking from his cuff. Bought with my blood money. We talked for hours, me feeding him just enough about my experiments to whet his appetite. Him dropping hints about a major investor, eyeing urban abstraction. By dessert, his hand was on my knee, and I let it stay. Patience. I reminded myself. He's the spider, you're the flame. That night, alone in my loft, I transferred $100,000 into a shadow account, bought into Bitcoin at the dip I remembered. Portfolio swelled to $1.2 million. I started a shell company, Harlan Visions LLC, funneling art commissions through it, building a legit facade. Hired a PI, low-key, to dig on the family. Turns out, Dad's success was propped on shady deals, insider trading whispers at his firm, Lydia's daddy bankrolling half his promotions,
Ethan?
embezzling from his startup to fund coke habits. Brooke? Sleeping her way up the ladder at Google. HR complaints buried deep. Secrets upon secrets. The buried one that gutted me? Dad had known about Mom's diagnosis early. Doctored records showed he'd been CC'd on her bills. Ignored them to avoid drama with Lydia. My mistake. Trusting blood over ink. The crime I'd suffered, a lifetime of gaslighting, culminating in abandonment that left me vulnerable to wolves like Marcus. February thawed the city. And so did my plans. I landed a solo show at a mid-tier gallery in the Lower East Side, my own merits this time. No Marcus strings. Veins of Vengeance, I titled it privately, though the public tag was Urban Reckoning. Canvases bled with fractured figures. Families splintered by greed. Eyes accusing from the shadows. Critics nibbled. Sales hit $300,000 opening night. Marcus showed. Of course. All congratulations, and I knew you had it in you. I let him broker a piece to his contact, tracked the commission, waited for the skim. The reunion invite arrived via email. Gold-embossed digital flair. Rick Harlan's 50th. Napa Valley Estate. April 20th. Family only, come as you are. As if. I RSVP'd. Attached a photo of me in paint-streaked overalls. Caption. Can't wait to catch up. Let them salivate. By March, my fortune cracked $5 million. I diversified. A vineyard stake in Napa, ironic. Blue-chip art acquisitions under pseudonyms. Even a venture into AI-generated streetwear that went viral on TikTok. Controversial? Hell yes, I sampled stolen motifs from public murals, flipping lawsuits into publicity gold. Haters called it cultural appropriation. I called it commentary on ownership in America. Sales soared. Marcus escalated. Dinners turned to overnights. His apartment a shrine to my stolen future. One night, post-coital haze, he murmured, "We should collaborate again." Your vision. My network, unstoppable. I smiled into the dark, fingers tracing the tattoo on his shoulder I designed in another life. Soon, I whispered. The next day, I leaked an anonymous tip to Artforum, discrepancies in his past exhibits. Nothing stuck yet, but the seed rotted. Family recon heated up. The PI uncovered the big one. Ethan's startup? A Ponzi scheme targeting immigrant investors. Dad's firm laundering the proceeds. Brooke's affairs? Blackmail fodder from a jilted exec. And Lydia, sweet, Botox Lydia, had forged Mom's will, siphoning the pittance inheritance meant for me. The crime, elder financial abuse, buried under NDAs. My mistake? Being too grief-stricken to fight it in life one. I debated going nuclear, FBI tips, public takedowns, but no. Personal. At the reunion, I'd unravel them thread by thread. April dawned electric. I flew first class to SFO. Rented a sleek Tesla, no ostentatious lumbo. Subtlety was key. The estate sprawled like a wine country wet dream, infinity pool overlooking vineyards. string lights twinkling against the dusk. Dad greeted me at the gate, arms wide, that salesman grin masking the appraisal in his eyes.
Ava.
Look at you, still got that artist's glow. Translation, still broke? The backyard buzzed, 50 relatives in khakis and sundresses. Ribs smoking on the grill. Uncle Ted belting Springsteen off-key. Ethan clapped my back too hard. Slurring. Heard you're slinging paintings. Good for you? Cuz. Brooke air-kissed, her Google lanyard dangling like a noose. We should collab sometime. Tech and art? Revolutionary. Lydia hovered. Pearls clutched. Darling, you look bohemian. I played along, nursing a seltzer, laughing at their jabs.
Yeah.
The broke artist life, starving for my craft.
Inside.
The hook twisted. Dinner dragged, toast to Dad's self-made empire. Side glances at my thrift store chic, deliberate. Then, the kicker, Aunt Carla. Post-second helping. Stage whispered loud enough for the table. Ava's always been the dreamer. Remember when she tried that gallery thing? Bless her heart. Laughter rippled. Ethan's guffaw the loudest. Dad chuckled. She's got spirit. That's for sure.
Spirit?
I'd show them Inferno. As dessert hit, Lydia's infamous tiramisu. Laced with passive aggression, I stood, clinking my glass. Actually, family, I said, voice steady as the Napa fog. I've got a little update. Phone's out. Expectant smirks. I pulled up my tablet. Screen glowing with Harlan Vision's dashboard. $12.4 million assets. Live portfolio ticking. Gasps first, then denials. Photoshop, Ethan muttered. I swiped to wire transfers, proof of the vineyard buy. My name on the deed next to Dad's.
You.
What? Dad sputtered, face paling under the lanterns. I leaned in, eyes on Lydia. Turns out, while you were calling me the broke artist, I was building an empire. NFTs. Flips. The works. But that's not all. The twist, I revealed the PI docs. Projected on the garage screen I'd hacked earlier. Ethanol's fraud emails. Brooke's HR files. Lydia's forged will. And Dad, your success? Built on Mom's grave. Chaos erupted. Ethan lunged for the tablet. Brooke shrieked denials. Lydia fainted dramatically into Shay's lounge. Dad grabbed my arm.
Ava.
What the hell? Revenge, I whispered, yanking free. For Mom. For me. For every time you let them bury me alive. Cops arrived by midnight. My anonymous tip. Timed perfectly. Arrests in the vineyard glow. Flashbulbs from the press I'd tipped off. Marcus? Waiting in New York. His morning headlines screaming scandal. My evidence packet en route to the DA. As I drove away, fortune intact, family in cuffs, I glanced back. Happy ending? For me? Yeah. But the mirror showed no peace, just the same fierce eyes, plotting the next canvas. The fallout from Napa hit like a California wildfire, scorching everything in its path, but leaving me standing in the ashes, smoke curling around my boots. It was May now. Back in Brooklyn. The loft transformed into a war room, whiteboards scrawled with timelines. My second chance mapped out like a heist flick. I'd crashed at a boutique hotel post-reunion, too wired for the flight home, watching the news cycle devour my kin. Harlan family empire crumbles, fraud, forgery, and a daughter's reckoning, CNN blared. My blurred face in the byline as the whistleblower artist. Comments sections exploded, Broke artist revenge trended. Memes of me as a paintbrush-wielding Avenger. Some hailed me hero. Others branded me vengeful harpy. The ungrateful spawn, torching blood ties for clicks. Controversy? It was my oxygen. In America, you don't just win, you dominate the narrative. I leaned into it, dropping a Substack essay, The Cost of Family Capital, How I Died Poor and Reborn Rich. No rebirth literalism, just metaphor for the grind. Subscribers flooded in, Patreon pledges hitting 6 figures monthly. But the real juice? The art. Reckoning series prints sold out on my site. Collectors bidding wars for originals depicting fractured dynasties in day-glow fury. $2 million in sales that month alone. Funneled straight into expansion, a Bushwick studio space for emerging artists. Women of color prioritized. My quiet fuck you to the gatekeepers who'd sideline me. Marcus. Though, that wound festered. Post-Napa. He'd gone radio silent. But I knew him, licking wounds in his walk-up, plotting comebacks. My PI tailed him to dive bars in the village, drowning Betrayal in whiskey sours. The evidence I'd amassed? Ironclad. Screenshots of his plagiarized pitches. Metadata proving my originals predated his inspirations. Witness statements from jaded assistants I'd charmed over late-night Zooms. The alley? Bodycam footage I'd recovered via a hacker buddy, ethical gray zone. But hey, rebirth rules. Forged emails debunked by IP traces. I held it like a loaded gun, chambered but unfired. One humid Tuesday, he cracked. Voicemail at dawn. Ava.
Babe.
We need to talk. This family's got nothing on us. Meet me, neutral ground. Neutral, the high line. Tourists milling like oblivious extras in our drama. He waited by the 10th Avenue stairs. Gaunt. That dimple hollowed by stress. You played me, he started. No hello. All that sweet talk collabs? Bullshit. You're destroying everything. I cross my arms, sundress fluttering in the breeze off the Hudson. Everything? You mean you're everything? My ideas. My blood on your boots. His eyes widened. He didn't know about the death. Not yet. Time travel perk. What the fuck are you on about? But doubt flickered. He'd always sensed my instability as a threat. I pulled out my phone, played the audio, his own voice from 2021, slurring to a buddy. Ava? Yeah. Handled it. Cops ate the story. Tragic addict. Case closed. His face drained, knees buckling against the rail. How? Doesn't matter. What matters? Your Guggenheim nom? Revoked tomorrow. Your Echoes collection? Auction for restitution. To artists you stole from. I scrolled emails. CCNG his gallery boss live. And the alley? DA's office loves cold cases with video. He lunged, hands grabbing for the phone, desperation's ugly face. I sidestepped, knee to his gut. Years of self-defense classes, post-rebirth priority, dropping him wheezing. Security swarmed. I walked away clean, his curses fading into the city hum. That night, champagne solo in the loft. Portfolio at $18 million. But victory tasted metallic. Rebirth promised closure. Yet echoes lingered. Mom's laugh in my dreams. Dad's abandonment like a phantom limb. The family? Scattered. Ethan in county lockup. Brooke lawyered up in a plea deal. Lydia selling baubles to fund divorce from Dad, who was suspended pending SEC probe. He called weekly, voicemails begging forgiveness, promising to make it right. Delete. Summer scorched in. And with it, decisions that'd make therapists rich. Controversial move 1. I outed the whole saga in a Netflix doc pitch. Blood canvas. An artist's vendetta. Director attached within days. My life story optioned for 7 figures. Haters screamed exploitation. Fans crown me iconoclast. Turning trauma to triumph, Vogue profiled. But the piece dug. Was I hero or heel? The betrayal's depth, family's systemic erasure of my potential, demanded reckoning. But at what cost to my soul? I doubled down. Launching a foundation. Ava Harlan Equity Fund. Grants for underrepresented creators. $5 million seed. Vetted applicants pouring in. One stood out. Lena. A queer Latina from the Bronx. Her murals screaming the rage I'd bottled. We collabed, her street edge. My polished fury, debuting at MoMA PS1. Sold out. Critics raving the new Basquiat duo. Marcus would have hated it. He thrived on solo glory. But twists brew in calm. August brought the subpoena. Dad's lawyers. Countersuit for defamation and emotional distress. Bullshit. But it dragged, depositions in SF. Me flying coach to save face. Staring down his watery eyes across oak tables. You were always so angry. Ava, he wheedled. After your mom. I tried. I snapped. Voice echoing in the sterile room. You buried her will. Ignored her chemo bills. Called me the broke artist to justify it. He deflated. Mumbling. Lydia's influence. I was weak.
Weak.
The word that'd chain me. I leaned forward. Controversial as hell. Drop the suit. Or I leak the insider trades. Full board minutes. Timestamps. Your self-made myth dies. He caved. Suit withdrawn. But begged one last talk. For closure. Against gut. I agreed. Neutral. A diner off Highway 101. Fluorescent buzz like interrogation lamps. He slid into the booth. Older. Grayer. Coffee untouched. I see you now.
Kid.
The Empire, proud.
Lies.
But I let it hang. What's the buried secret? Dad? Why me? Why not fight for us?
His eyes dropped.
The reveal. Mom hadn't just died of cancer. She'd OD'd. Pills from a stash. Despair after his abandonment. He'd covered it. Autopsy, natural causes, via a bot coroner. My mistake. Idolizing a ghost. The crime. Patricide of spirit. He'd murdered her will to live. I stood. Bile rising. You killed her. And me? In proxy. Walked out. No goodbye. That night. Anonymous packet to the DA. Mom's case reopened. September wins carried change. Portfolio at $25 million. But isolation crept. Dates fizzled. Guys spooked by my intensity. The revenge queen aura. Lena became confidant. Our late-night studio talks dissecting Betrayal's anatomy. You're not vengeful, she said. Paint-flecked hands on mine. You're just done being prey. Marcus's trial loomed, November arraignment. I testified. Cool under cross. He didn't just steal art. He stole lives. Jury ate it. Plea deal incoming. 5 years minimum. As he was led away in cuffs, our eyes met, his pleading, mine steel. Should have stayed away, I mouthed. Closure? A sliver. But the real climax brewed family side. Ethan's plea hearing, I showed. Back row. Anonymous donor funding victims' suits. Brooks firing made headlines. Tech darling's downfall. Lydia? Bankrupt. Hawking knockoffs on QVC. Dad? Fired. Estate foreclosed. Crashing with Uncle Ted. One stormy eve, he appeared at my loft door, drenched, defeated.
Ava.
Help. Controversial decision, too. I let him in. Not mercy strategy. Over whiskey, his poison. He spilled. The full web. Accomplices named. Ledgers hidden. In exchange, silence on Mom's death. A clean slate for my foundation's tax perks. I took the intel. Burned the bridge. Next morning, FBI got the drop. Dad's cell by noon. Betrayal's echo. Even in ruin. He schemed salvation on my dime. Fall deepened. Leaves like confetti for my unmaking. Netflix greenlit. Shoots in Bushwick capturing Raw. Me at easel. Fury to form. Public adored. But trolls dug, uncovering my obsessive past posts, painting me unhinged. Controversy peaked. Op-ed in the Times. Is Ava Harlan's revenge a feminist triumph or toxic reckoning? I responded in paint. A triptych. Echoes unburied, auctioned for $1 million to a women's shelter. Message: judge me, but don't cage me. By Halloween, fortune at $32 million. Empire solid. But rebirth's gift? Foresight fading. Dreams bleeding timelines. Was this happy? The alley scar itched phantom-wise. Lena's hand in mine at the gallery afterparty. First real spark. Maybe. Yet tension coiled. A letter arrived. Postmarked Napa, unsigned. You think it's over? Blood calls to blood. Antagonist's ghost? Or paranoia? November's chill seeped into the bones of the city, turning Brooklyn's streets into wind-whipped gauntlets where every shadow whispered unfinished business. The letter sat on my desk like a live wire. Its block letters screaming anonymity. You dismantled the throne. But thrones rebuild. Watch your mirrors. Ava. Ghosts reflect true. No postmark trace. PI came up empty, but the scent? Lydia's Chanel no. 5. Faint as regret. She'd vanished post-bankruptcy. Rumors swirling of a Reno trailer or a lover's Hamptons hideout. Scheming bitch to the end. I figured. Rallying remnants for a counterstrike. In America, revenge isn't linear. It's a hydra. Heads sprouting in the dark. I burned it, but sleep evaded. Rebirth's high was crashing, the adrenaline of unmaking foes giving way to the void of what next. Foundation thrived. Lena and I co-curating a pop-up in Chelsea. Shattered silhouettes, survivor stories in mixed media. Opening night packed celebs. Critics. Even a slumming Elon tweet storming praise. Sales? $800,000. Half to bail funds for artists ensnared in the system. But as flashbulbs popped, I caught it. A figure in the crowd. Hooded. Slipping out. Paranoia? Or prelude? Marcus's sentencing was the week's gut punch. Federal court in Foley Square. Air thick with legal incense and resentment. I sat front row. Power suit traded for jeans and a leather jacket. Fuck your respectability. He shuffled in. Orange jumpsuit clowning his former polish. Eyes locking on mine with venom pure. Harlan, the judge intoned. For theft, assault, and obstruction, 8 years. Gavel cracked like my old ribs. His sob echoed as they cuffed him.
Outside.
Reporters swarmed. MS. Harlan. Closure. I paused. Camera ready. Justice isn't closure. It's the start. Viral clip. My stock, literal and fig, soared. But the twist gutted me. Post-hearing, his lawyer cornered me in the hall, slick suit, sleaziest smile. Marcus has a message. Tell Ava the alley wasn't the end. Ask your father about the canvases. Canvases? My brain reeled. The lost ones. The series Dad had stored after Mom's death. Originals I'd slaved over as a teen. In Life 1. They'd vanished in his move to Cali. Dismissed as kitsch. Buried, secret unearthed. Not lost, sold. To fund his climb. Forged provenance as anonymous estate. Rage boiled. Controversial decision 3. I confronted Dad in lockup. No lawyers. Just glass partition and raw truth. He looked shrunken. Jumpsuit hanging like defeat's flag. The paintings. Dad. You pawned my soul. He pressed the receiver. Voice crackling.
Ava.
It was one time, needed seed money for the firm. Lydia said they'd fetch nothing. Liar. I slammed the handset. But not before. They were Mom's favorites. You erased us both. Visited the auction house records via PI. Sold to a Zurich collector for $50,000 in '05. My name scrubbed. I bought them back. $2 million overpay. Just to burn them in a desert bonfire. Catharsis? Or self-sabotage? Haters online crowed meltdown, but the ashes birthed Phoenix Fragments, new series from the scars. Selling for double. December dusted the city white. Holidays a minefield of faux cheer. Lena and I hosted a foundation gala, loft strung with lights. Donors toasting equity while I scanned for hoodies. No show. But tension thrummed. Portfolio hit $40 million. Diversified into green tech, solar farms in the Southwest. Prescient on climate regs. Controversial? I shorted fossil stocks publicly. Tweeting blood money's endgame. Wall Street howled. My follows doubled. Family fragments clawed back. Brooke. Post-plea. Emailed from rehab, sis. I get it now. The hurt. Can we talk, sis? After years of shade? I met her in a sterile midtown cafe. Her once gleaming hair dulled by withdrawal. I was jealous, she admitted, tears salting her latte. You had art. I had ladders to climb. Vulnerability cracked my armor. Blood's pull. But scheming glinted in her ask. Help with the appeals? For old times. Old times. Her stealing my prom dress. Mocking my proud acceptance as wasted potential. I slid a check $100K. No strings but whispered. Tell Lydia to back off. Or the letters go public. Her nod was assent. Truce. Fragile as rice paper. Ethan's move was bolder. Collect call from Sing Sing. Voice gravelly. Cuz. You're killing it. But Dad, he's breaking. Says stuff about your mom. Regrets. Regrets? The OD cover-up nod. I visited. Chain link between us. His tattoos faded under prison pallor. What did he say? That he pushed her. The divorce. It broke her. And you? He envied your fire. Buried it to feel big. Antagonist unmasked. Dad. Not just weak, willing. The mistake I'd borne? Absolving him in grief. I walked out. Tip to the warden. Ethan's cellmate chats about witness tampering. Solitary for him. Silence for me. Lydia's strike landed Christmas Eve. Package at the door. My childhood sketchbook. Pages clawed. Note. Broke artist's relics. Merry Christmas from the real survivor. Inside. A USB, grainy video of Mom's last days. Dad, arguing money. Her pills scattering like confetti. Heart shredder. I traced it. Lydia's IP. From a seedy Queens motel. Controversial decision 4. I didn't call cops. Instead, a countergift, drone dropped to her door. Divorce papers I'd accelerated via hackers, exposing her fraud to his estate lawyers. She sued. I countersued for harassment. Courts chewed it slow, but her assets froze. New Year's dawned with Lena. Fireworks over the East River, painting us gold. You're a force, she murmured, kiss tasting of champagne and possibility. First real tether since rebirth, vulnerable.
Terrifying.
But the letters echo, ghosts reflect true. Mirrors in the loft multiplied. My reflection fracturing, past Ava's bruises overlaying present steel. January 2019, wait. Timelines blurred. My internal clock ticked 2026 vibes, broad expansion. Foundation branched to LA. Scouting talents in Skid Row. I keynote at TEDx. Revenge as Renaissance. Crowd roaring for the unbreakable artist. Backlash? Protests outside. Harlan's hypocrisy. Profiting pain. Fair? The decisions stacked. Burning canvases. Funding foes. Exposing dead secrets. Tense? Like walking a tightrope over abyss. Marcus wrote from prison, contraband smuggled. Poetic pleas. I loved your chaos.
Ava.
Forgive. Burned it. But doubt wormed. Was he monster or mirror of my rage? February's full moon. PI hit patered. Lydia in witness protection light. Flipping on dad for leniency. Her testimony? Him directing the will forgery. Even hinting at mom's accident. Climax brewed. Joint trial set for spring. I prepped. Affidavit stacked. But got twisted. Testify against blood? Controversy crested with a Netflix trailer drop. Blood canvas, teaser. My alley reenactment, no gore. Shadows only. Twitter imploded. Cancel Ava versus Ava rising. I went dark. Holing with Lena. Painting feverishly. Veins a verdict. A mural of scales tipping with family faces. Sold to the Met for $3 million. March rains lashed. Mirroring the storm inside. Dad's lawyer plea bargained. Full confession for reduced time. I mediated. Neutral ground. A park bench in Golden Gate. Fog cloaking us like shame. I did it all, he croaked. Hands wringing. Pushed her away. Sold your dreams. Built on lies. Forgive me. The ask hung. Controversial as cyanide. Rebirth's lesson. Forgiveness frees the giver. But revenge? It armored. No, I said.
Standing.
Live with it. Walked away. Tip sealed. DA got the video. Charges escalated. Trial month. Courthouse circus. Lydia on stand. Botox cracking under cross. Rick force me.
Dad.
Stoic. Crumbling in elocution. I destroyed my daughter to save myself. Verdict him 20. Her 10. Cheers outside. But my tears? Salt of release. Post-trial. Empire at $50 million. Lena proposed collab, life. Not just art. I said yes. But the final twist? April dawn. Mirror gaze. A faint scar bloomed on my reflection's temple, alley ghost. Rebirth fading? Or warning? The fortune built. Family felled. But tension lingered. America's revenge will turns eternal. April showers birthed May flowers in Napa's ruins. But for me, it was resurrection's afterglow, bittersweet, laced with the pollen of what-ifs. The trials wrapped like a noose loosened just enough to breathe. Dad and Lydia carted off to federal gray while Ethan and Brooke navigated paroles under my watchful glance, strings attached, Therapy. Restitution. Fortune? $55 million and climbing. Harlan visions a blue-chip name in art-tech hybrids. My face on Forbes 30 under 35 as the vindictive visionary. Controversial to the core, interviewers probed, was exposing her family worth the isolation? I'd smirk. Isolation?
Nah.
It's liberation. America's allergic to women who bite back. Lena grounded the whirlwind. Our loft evolved into shared chaos, her sketches mingling with my abstracts. Mornings tangled in sheets scented with coffee and clay. You're not alone anymore, she'd say, fingers tracing my phantom scars. But nights, the mirrors mocked, reflections flickering with alley rain. Marcus's boot. Mom's pill bottle. Rebirth's gift waned. Dreams bled futures I'd averted. Whispers of timelines where I'd folded, not fought. Summer 19 sizzled with opportunity. Foundation gala in the Hamptons, irony thick as humidity, drew A-listers. My speech on Betrayal's blueprint going viral. Post-event, a collector approached, silver-haired Euro. Accent like aged Scotch. MS. Harlan. Your Reckoning series stunning. But I own your youth. The canvases from '05? I bought them from your father. Heart stutter. The burned ones? No. Duplicates. He'd commissioned fakes to sell originals intact. Buried secrets burial. Dad hadn't destroyed, he'd preserved. A twisted apology in oil. I flew to Zurich. Private jet perk. Unveiling crates in a climate vault. Teen Ava's fury. Portraits of mom unscarred. Family before fracture. Tears hot. I repatriated them. No burn this time. Hung in the Foundation's new gallery. Caption. Forged in fire. Unbroken. Public ate the redemption arc. Haters grumbled, softening sellout. Controversial decision 5. I visited Dad in Supermax. No glass this time, contact room. His hands cuffed but reaching. The paintings, I started. Voice steel. Why keep them? Eyes watery. He shrugged chains. Guilt's heavy.
Kid.
Thought one day you'd want him back. Proof I saw your light. Even blind. Vulnerability disarmed. Blood's curse. Mom's death. I didn't push the pills. But I pushed her away. Forgive. The wheels spun. Rebirth screamed no. Revenge's pure flame. But the fortune built? On grudges. Yes. But hollow without bridge. Maybe, I whispered. Start with letters to the victims. He nodded. First real crack in the antagonist's mask. Not absolution, but accounting. Marcus's appeal failed. Final nail. From prison. A package. My old sketchbook. Annotated with his regrets. You were the art I couldn't steal. Burned half. Kept pages of our collabs. Recycled into Stolen Strokes exhibit. Sold for charity. Closure in proceeds. Fall painted the city crimson. Tensions easing into rhythm. Netflix dropped Blood Canvas. Emmy's buzz. My portrayal fierce. Unapologetic. Backlash peaked. Family survivors groups picketed premieres. Harlan profiteers pain. Fair hit. I donated back-end royalties to abuse funds. Twist's tale. Brooke. Reformed. Joined the foundation board. Ethan mentored at-risk youth in art. Redemption's messy, but real. By winter. Portfolio stabilized at $60 million sustainable. Not insatiable. Lena and I road-tripped Route 66. Canvases strapped to the Tesla. Painting Americana's underbelly. Ghost towns mirroring my ghosts. One night in a Mojave motel, neon buzzing. She asked, "Happy ending, Ava? Or just the pause?" I traced her jaw. Mirrors fogged behind us. Both. Rebirth wasn't escape, it was rewrite. The alley scar faded to whisper. Letters from Dad arrived weekly, raw, repentant. I replied sparingly. Building not burning. Spring 2020 loomed, pandemic shadow I remembered. But armed now.
Stockpiled supplies.
Pivoted foundation to virtual grants. Art NFTs exploding in lockdown. Foresight gold. Controversy? I called out galleries hoarding during crisis. Art for all. Not elites sparking boycotts. But alliances too. Empire evolved, not fortress. But forum. The final hook? June dawn. Brooklyn Bridge silhouette. Lena's hand in mine. A call, unknown number. Ava Harlan? This is Richard, your half-brother. Dad mentioned. Before. I'm in Seattle. Studying design. Saw the doc. You're why I picked up a brush. Blood calls, not to war, but whisper. I invited him east. First family not forged in fire. Revenge's arc bent, from ashes to alliance. Fortune built. Yes, but legacy? In the mirrors now. Eyes soft. Fierce still. No tragic fall, happy.
Hard one.
America's tense drama? Mine to direct. And as the sun crested, painting the skyline gold, I exhaled. This time, I lived.